to LearnCity. My name is Praise and I'm the mathematics tutor. And in today's class, we'll be talking about associated terms in algebra of sets and algebra of propositions. The structure of algebra of sets and the algebra of propositions look the same, and the associated terms are given in the table below. We have the algebra of sets and algebra of propositions, where we can see it on our screen. So we have sets A, B, C to be propositions P, Q, and R. We have union U and we have disjunction V. We have intersection N and we have conjunction. We have complement A to be negation. We have universal sets to be tautology. Nil sets to be self-contradiction. Is a subject means implies, and equals is equivalent to. Basically, algebra of sets and algebra of propositions look the same, but they are not entirely the same. There are slight difference between the both of them, and we can see where the slight difference is. Though they may basically mean the same thing, but there is a difference in their names and in the way they function. Like sets A, B, C. Basically in sets, we draw rectangles, we draw circles, but for propositions, we have it to be P, Q, and R. We have it to be P, Q, and R. Now we have means A is a proper subset of B. Now we can basically see it in our screen where we have example. We have two different sets where we drew. So we have our A to C and we have a universal set and we have our P to Q. So it basically looks like the same thing, but it does not mean the same thing. So we can see how the subset looks like, and we can see for our A and B, which is for the set, and we can see it for the propositions, how it looks like. Now, to explain the validity of an argument, there are two forms of reasoning used in mathematics, namely we have the inductive reasoning and the deductive reasoning. Now, inductive reasoning usually lacks generality because not all possibilities have been exhausted when we use inductive reasoning. We base our conclusions for inductive reasonings on observation or experiences. Now, inductive reasoning basically talks about experiences, what we've seen before or what we can observe with our two eyes. Basically, they are statements that may be true or may be false. They are not concluded statements because those statements are basically based on the conclusion that we have from our experiences or observation, whereas it is not yet laid down as a valid statement. On the other hand, deductive reasoning is the process of showing that certain statements are accepted as true. In deductive reasoning, all possibilities have been exhausted and therefore a generalized conclusion can be made. Now, for deductive reasoning, basically it has been set down that this statement is true or this statement is false. That is the difference between inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. Now, valid arguments may be referred as a deductive argument because deductive reasoning is based on conclusion reached from valid argument. So, before we can make our reasoning a deductive reasoning, there are always valid arguments to check if they are still inductive reasoning or they are basically laid down as a true statement. In deductive reasoning, we basically start from assumptions, which is also known as hypotheses or premises, and then draw a conclusion from those assumptions. So, a deductive reasoning starts from an inductive reasoning. We start with assumption whereby we think that, okay, this may be true or this may be false, which is our hypothesis. Then we draw a conclusion that it is true. That is our deductive reasoning. Now, an argument may be described as a set of statements or propositions called the premises which leads to a conclusion. So, arguments are those hypotheses. Arguments are those hypotheses whereby contemplating if this is true or this is false, which leads to a conclusion. Now, let P1, P2, P3 to Pn represent the premises of an argument and C represent the conclusion. A valid argument is one in which if the premises P1, P2, P3 are all true, then the conclusion C will always be true. In other words, an argument is said to be valid if the conjunction of the compound statement is a tautology. You know, we said about tautology and contradiction, where we said for tautology the continuous answers will be positive. So when we have different arguments or different hypotheses and each of the hypotheses is proven to be true, then our statement is tautology. If an argument is not valid, then it is called an invalid or a fallacy. Thus, we can easily say that argument is valid if the conclusion follows from the hypothesis. So basically, we've explained the validity of an argument, we've explained what an argument is, we explained the inductive reasoning, and we explained the deductive reasoning. So basically, now we can understand where we can find our answers from. If we have logic statement, we can deduct that this is an inductive reasoning or this is an inductive reasoning, whether it is deductive or inductive. And this brings us to the end of our class on the validity of an argument. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and we'll see you in the next class. Thank you.